This is not a book for children. It looks like a children's book. It has pictures. It has a saccharine sweet title. The main characters are a little girl and her teddy bear. But all of that is just protective coloration. The truth is, this is a book for adults with a dark sense of humor and an appreciation of old school fairy tales. That is the opening on the flap for The Adventures of the Princess and Mr. Whiffle, a Patrick Rothfuss book that I find to be an absolute delight, and one of the hardest books to talk about without spoiling I have ever reviewed here on the channel. That's a strange thing to say about a picture book that is in the wrappings of a kid's book, but this is, as it says in the opening, not a children's book. Don't read this to your child. But let's get into the spoiler-free section of the review, because I'm going to just go ahead and split this one into spoiler-free spoilers here. Essentially, the setup is we have a little girl living alone in a marzipan castle.
Isn't that so sweet?
And she's got her teddy bear companion, and they're having their little adventures. And it's the sweetest little opening. You love it. You love seeing it. And then you start noticing things. And that's all I'll say for the spoiler-free section. And Patrick Rothfuss' sense of humor is something that vibes with me like 50% of the time. I'll find his either really funny or just not. This, for me, was just really funny from beginning to end. It's such a cute premise. It's executed so well, and it's just got the dark, twisted things you'd expect from Patrick Rothfuss doing an adult kids book. So across the board, I think this book accomplishes what it set out to do magnificently. I was sent this by a fan of the channel. It's a signed edition, so I'm not going to do a book drop here. I'm sorry. I'm just not going to drop an autographed book. But it's like I could get this to someone as a gag gift and they would probably laugh and think it's funny, but I also just really like having it on my shelf as something to like have on a coffee table for someone to pick up and then just be like, what is this? And because I imagine them getting to like a little deeper in and they're just like, oh, okay. Which deeper in is like ironic to say here because there's only 65 pages, I think, and like a line of text per page, maybe two, I think maybe three on one. So it's like you burn through it in 5 minutes, but you also immediately reread it. Like I imagine the like reread rate of this as soon as someone finishes is about like 90+%. Because that's the entire point. You're supposed to pick up on little things, get to the end, and then go, and go back through and reread it immediately. I think 60 to 70% of people will be able to predict the ending from like once they're a third in, but that doesn't detract from what this is, and like you're still going to enjoy the journey. So I can't believe I'm going to say this, but this is true. The most positive reviewed Patrick Rothfuss book on my channel is this one here. I really think it's sweet. It's a neat idea that's really well done. The illustrations by Nate Taylor look phenomenal, and I can totally tell this is something they just kind of came up with like as a fun, like, hey, wouldn't this be a cool thing? And then they're like, are we gonna do this? Yeah. And then they did, and I can't wait to just leave this out on a coffee table for people to pick up and start reading and suddenly regret it or love it, or I can see people having varying reactions. But I'll recommend this across the board. If you're a Patrick Rothfuss fan, you'll love it. If you're not a Patrick Rothfuss fan, I think it's outside of his standard wheelhouse enough and just a quirky enough idea that pretty much anyone could dig it. And it's just fun. Like it's just a neat thing to do. Like I don't care who could be angry or mad at this. It's a little bit predictable, but it's fine. It's an adult kids book. Who's gonna mind that? So let's go ahead and jump into the spoiler-filled section of this review. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Spoilers. If you're still here and you haven't read it, I get it, because it's 65 pages. You're not going to mind the spoilers. But the princess turns out to be the monster is the big twist here at the end, and she eats the kitten and she eats the monster under her bed, and it's like it's going to happen. As soon as the monster under the bed doesn't turn out to be a bad guy and you see the knight sprinting away as he leaves the kitten, you're like, oh, there's things not adding up here. And actually at that point is when I went back to the beginning and re-looked, because I was like, the princess is going to be the monster. Like, okay, duh, she's going to be the monster, so I need to go back to the beginning. So right there, I went back to the beginning and started looking for all the hints. And there's a lot of little hints scattered throughout this story if you look closely of like, this is not a nice little fairy tale girl. she's a bit different. And once you get to the ending, I appreciated the level of humor here, the execution of it. It didn't try to be super like subvert what you think's going to happen or anything like that. It's just a neat little adventure, I don't want to call it a gimmick because it's more than that. A gimmick implies like hackery or a fraud, but it's a simple premise done really well, and they don't try to overdo it, which I think would have actually been something really bad here. Like, this was 300 pages of hints. Nope, 65, in and out. It's got that twist at the end, which you'll see coming, and I think you could read it to like an 8 or 9-year-old, and it would be like a fun thing for them to have their expectations subverted. But I don't have any kids, and I don't know what's appropriate for kids. Hold up, this is actually a good question for Maddie. Maddie's asleep, but I got her to read it, and she liked it as well. And she's a little Disney fan, so it's got appeal across the board. I think everyone will enjoy this. So, yep, giving this the most positively reviewed Patrick Rothfuss book on my channel. Stamp of approval. It's very cute, very fun. And thank you for sending it to me. I appreciate it, and it'll be something I have on my coffee table for a long time. Like and subscribe if you have not already at the Patreon. If you'll support what I do here, and have a good one, y'all. Peace.